What's going on, champions of Azeroth? Gordon Ramsay here, the chef. Finally de-rusting off our YouTube channel. Gonna go ahead and be doing a lot of catered content towards what you guys have been requesting, and recently on stream I've been getting pretty much asked daily what my talent specialization is for my druid. Also, much loved the stream recently. Things have been popping off, been absolutely mad with the support from the community, so much love there. I leveled up 100% tank specialization as a Feral Druid, and after the first week of endgame content, I realized I might not get utilized 100% of the time as being just a tank. So what I did was I kind of took a couple points away from the full tank build and put them more towards a cat build, the DPS build for Feral. And right now I'm kind of a hybrid. I'm still full-blown Feral combat for the most part, but I can do pretty decent DPS and I can also tank effectively still. So I'm pretty much just a hybrid tank or DPS while being in the Feral combat. So let's just go ahead and go do a quick rundown. I'm going to explain my thought process on all the points, and then we will kind of get into the hot takes, some talents that some people prefer to take. I prefer to take the other ones, but right now, no matter what you do as a Feral Druid, whether you're going full tank or going full DPS, you have to put these points in balance as well as restoration. They're so clutch. So starting off with the restoration, Fur gives you 20% chance per point, increases all the way up to 100% to gain 10 rage guaranteed or 40 energy when you shapeshift into your bear form or cat form. This is super clutch because we'll get that into another video on super in-depth for cat DPS, but main thing is it's just a very nice way to say you're in, tossing heals on yourself, whatnot, and then you just want to get straight back into the combat. You can obviously shapeshift and either have enough rage to do something like a feral charge, or you could blow an AoE taunt, something like that in bear form, or even just cast Maul and start generating threat that way. And obviously the exact same for DPS in your cat form. Gives you 40 energy. It's enough for a claw, almost enough for a shred as well. So it's a very nice way to just have resources as soon as you get in. Very little downtime for druids, especially out in the open world, doing questing, farming, whatnot. So super clutch. No matter what you do, 5 points in Fur, gotta have it. Now, this is where my full tank to hybrid build kind of just varied. When I was full tank, I put 2 points into improved enrage because this is also really nice. If you have 2 points into it, you can get instant 10 rage whenever you pop enrage. So say you shapeshift into bear form, you get the 10 rage from Fur, you get another 10 rage instantly when you pop enrage. So you could start off with 20 rage straight off the bat. And we'll not mention that you could have Wolf's Head Helm as well, which I think it was bugged. They might have fixed it, which would have given you another 20 rage. So you could start off with 40 rage, which is insane. But now that I'm doing more of a hybrid build, I stop there in restoration. I just go 5 out of 5 Fur, and that's about it. So we'll head over to the balance tree. Again, no matter what build you do as a Feral Druid, you are going to go 1 point into Nature's Grasp and then 4 points into Improved Nature's Grasp. You don't care about Improved Wrath. I haven't even leveled the rank. I've leveled the rank 3 Wrath. I just don't even use it. You don't ever use it as a Feral Druid. So Nature's Grasp, it's pretty clutch. Very nice PvP talent as well as just being out in the open world. In case you pull extra mobs, you can proc this on yourself and it will entangle somebody. Has a 100% chance to hit proc with the improved Nature's Grasp. So whenever somebody hits you, they're going to get hit with the entangling roots and be snared. So it's very nice. Pretty nice alternative. Obviously, you're not going to get Wrath. Next, natural weapons. You go 5 out of 5 here. Really awesome. Just 10% increased damage for your physical attacks. So that applies to bear and cat form. Super clutch. The main reason we're coming down into this balance tree is Omen of Clarity. So this is our clear casting ability as a druid. So what this does is chance on a melee attack. It allows you to go into clear casting state, which makes any spell you cast in the game cost nothing. Cost no rage, no energy, no mana. So really clutch for doing DPS, for tanking, for just being out in the open world. Because if you could proc this, say you're low on health, you proc this, you can just shapeshift back to, your human form and cast a healing touch for free on yourself. Get pretty much fully healed as a Feral Druid, which is super, super clutch. If you're doing DPS, you're attacking, you get the clear casting, Omnic Clarity proc, you can shred again. That's your main source of DPS for the most part, because you're not using bleeds too much in raids and whatnot. So this is what makes druids pop off, because again though, it is a melee attack. So you have to come into the balance tree, which is supposed to be your casting tree, but this is just super clutch, so you get that as a druid. We'll come back here. We're going to go ahead and talk about natural shapeshifter in a little bit. We will put a couple points into that, but I want to explain that a little bit later. So these are the points that you must have. You need to go at least 11 points into balance and then 5 points into restoration. Now we'll go ahead and hop over to feral combat, which is where we get a little bit of a hot take here. So some druids prefer feral aggression, where it basically gives you increased attack power, reduction for your roar. You don't use that too much because a lot of warriors already spec into improved demoralizing shout. So those two kind of counteract each other. So the only real reason you would be going into feral aggression is so you could get up to 15% increased damage on your ferocious bite, which is pretty nice. 15% increased damage on your finishing move can be pretty huge. However, I prefer the overall well-roundedness of ferocity. So ferocity, for every point you put into it, it reduces the rage or energy cost of these certain spells. You use maul and swipe every single pull as a druid in bear form. So maul is your main damaging ability. It can hit pretty hard, and druids actually crit a decent amount even in bear form. So you can be hitting up to like 600 or 800 depending on how you spec in bear form, which is pretty huge. Swipe, it's your main source of AoE generation as well. So you're using those two abilities all the time. Rake, you sometimes use Rake as a druid. Some raids don't want you to use Rake because it takes up a dot spot, but out in the open world you use Rake a whole bunch. And Claw, ideally you always want to shred instead of Claw because it just does way more damage. But there are some boss fights where you simply just can't get behind the target all the time and you need to start using energy, so you will actually use Claw quite a bit. And so 5 energy or rage off that, I think it's just super, super huge. And now here again, the next tree down is another hot take where people have to go Feral Instinct or Thick Hide. I'm a Thick Hide guy. I like to be thick with 2, maybe even 3 capital C's, where per point you get 2% increased armor contribution, stacking up to 10. I think this is just absolutely insane. Not only because it amplifies with your bear form, that multiplicative of the armor increase, it's also really nice just to have as a cat being out in the open world. Say you get hit, you're getting ganked by a rogue or someone, and you're stuck in cat form. That's not ideal. You always want to be in bear form when you're getting opened up on, but that's not always going to be the case. You're farming something, rogue tries to hit you. This 10% armor increase is huge. It actually makes you decently tanky while being in your DPS form, your cat form. So I think this is super big. Obviously 10% armor as a druid bear tank, like your main stats are stamina and armor. That's like 10% is huge. So I go Thick Hide. Other druids go Feral Instinct. Basically it gives you improved stealth. So I don't really care, I'm doing raids, stuff like this, where I don't need to be stealthy or with a group already. Out in the open world, I can get away from most things. I'm not worried about people seeing me. If they're going to hit me, they're going to find a way to get to me one way or another. The only thing that I could justify going in here is the threat generation. You can get up to 15% increased threat while in bear form. Again, most druids are off tanks in raids, and you're not really hitting the off tank target majority of the time. And say you're the main tank, you don't need to generate threat, because you can just tell your raid, hey guys, wait 1 more maul, wait 2 more attacks from me, I'll have my threat generated at that point. So this is mainly just a thing of you need to be coordinated with the group you're in, and you don't ever need this point at all, in my opinion. So druids, they're kind of bad at the start of getting threat, but once they have it, they will never lose threat, I can promise you that. So just give us druid tanks, give us an extra hit here and there. We don't have to take this talent. We're more tanky because of the Thick Hide. That's my opinion on it. Moving on. Feral Charge. Must have, no matter what, if you're full-blown DPS, or if you're full-blown tank, or if you're hybrid like me. and it's just such a clutch ability. 5 rage. You get that immediately when you cast bear form because you have fervor, which we mentioned earlier in Restoration Tree. Charges an enemy, immobilizing them and interrupting any spell cast that they had been casting for 4 seconds. 4-second root, gap closer. It's practically free to use because you can get the rage just from shapeshifting, and it interrupts that spell tree for 4 seconds. This is unbelievably huge. Out in the open world, it's really good for actually getting away. So you have too many mobs on you, you can find a mob 20 paces out and actually charge them. It'll root them, and then you have that huge distance from every other mob chasing you. Again, it's great for WPVP, world PvP that is, because it's a gap closer, it's an interrupt. You can kind of throw off enemies who are chasing you and whatnot, and it's an immobilizer, so it's really good for allowing you to stick onto targets or even get away from other targets. You use it no matter what. If you're full tank or full DPS, gotta get it. Sharpened Claws, again, this goes for both builds. Take it no matter what. Increases your critical strike by 6% when you put all 3 points into it. Huge. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. We need 1 more point to continue down in this tree. While I was leveling, I put 1 point into Feline Swiftness. It was just nice to have 15% move speed while I was in cat form, while I was outdoors questing, whatnot, traveling the world. Didn't have cheetah form yet, per se. So at 60, I don't take that at all. You could put a point into Brutal Impact if you want, get an extra half second on your stun for Bash and Pounce. That's pretty good. I just go ahead and stick it into Feral Aggression. We get a little bit of extra damage on our Ferocious Bite. Realistically, 3%, not the biggest, but it's mainly just for me being out and about. This 1 point is honestly not gonna make or break your build. So you could put it in any of these. You could put it in Feral Instinct, you could put it in Brutal Impact or Feral Aggression, whatever you want to do. Now from here, moving down the tree, this is where it gets a little tricky. You have to specialize in either hybrid, full-blown cat, or full-blown bear at this point. If you go full-blown bear, you're going Primal Fury. This gives you a 100% chance of gaining 5 additional rage anytime you crit. So, like I mentioned earlier, druids actually crit a ton while in bear form as well. So this is just a really, really great way to generate rage and allow you to have a bunch of rage to dump in raids while you're pulling and whatnot. If you're going cat, you have to go Blood Frenzy. Gives you a 100% chance to gain an additional combo point per crit. So this is a really, really great combo point generator. If you're out and about in the open world, you crit twice, you basically have 5 points. You could put up a full rip, or you could just go immediately into the Ferocious Bite. Again, as a DPS in raids, you have to have this because it's effectively almost doubling your damage with the combo points that you're generating twice as much of. So here I go both of them because, like I said, I'm going a hybrid build. If you're going one or the other, you can go just one or the other. I get both because sometimes I tank, sometimes I do DPS. It just depends on the fight. 3 points into Predatory Strike. Take it no matter what. No matter where you're going as a druid. 150% increased melee attack power in all forms is nutty. Fairy Fire Feral, must have as a druid. No matter what, it is so clutch for so many reasons. It's free. You can use it in all of your forms. As a bear, it's a very great way to pull because it has that 30-yard range and you're a melee. So you can go ahead and just pull targets 30 yards away with this and everything's going to come to you. So it's a very, very great way to pull as a bear. It's super clutch as a cat because, and overall just in raids, they love it because of the armor reduction. 175 armor for 40 seconds. This is a long debuff, guys. And then the last thing it's great for is the fact that it doesn't let targets go stealth. So this is very great for PvP again. You could use it on enemy druids, enemy rogues, stuff like that. It's clutch. You open up on a rogue, immediately pop Fairy Fire Feral on them. They're going to freak out. They're going to try to vanish. They press vanish, and then they're still out in the open. So they waste their vanish cooldown. Everyone can still see them. Rogues hate you. All right. So again, these are the points where you could take them or not take them. This is where I derived my full tank build to my hybrid build. So like I mentioned earlier, I had 2 points into Improved Enrage over here in the Restoration Tree. I got rid of those and put them into Improved Shred because I wasn't ever planning on going cat form. But now that I'm a hybrid DPS, 2 points into Improved Shred takes 12 energy off your Shred. That's your main damaging ability as a cat. Gotta have it. It's clutch. Savage Fury increases the damage caused by Claw, Rake, Maul, and Swipe abilities by 20% with both points. You don't have to take that as a bear tank. I take it because damage equals threat, And obviously as a hybrid, you want to have more damage on your other abilities in cat form as well. Heart of the Wild, take all 5, absolutely nutty ability. Increases your intellect by 20%, increases your stamina by 20%, increases your strength by 20% in cat form. Druids actually use a lot of strength, by the way, in cat form. Each strength point gives you 2 attack power, which is pretty clutch. So that's just a stat pattern. You gotta go all 5 no matter what build you're doing. Now this is leader of the pack is kind of controversial. If you're in open world druid out by yourself, not really doing too much, you don't have to have leader of the pack. You could put this point into something else, say another point in natural shapeshifter, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Any of the other like improved bash, stuff like that. In raids, you have to have one. Ideally, you have to have. Sometimes they don't even bring a Feral Druid, which every raid, in my opinion, should have one. You need a Feral Druid in your melee group because having everybody in that party get an additional 3% increased chance to crit, whether it's a hunter, rogue, whatever, shaman, enhanced shaman. 3% crit for free is amazing. So you need one in a raid. Now here's the other thing. If you're bringing multiple Feral Druids in a raid, you don't have to go this. If you're going to have another Druid in that melee group already, you can put your points somewhere else. But again, mainly they only bring one, if that. So for me, being in raids a bunch, I think leader of the pack is a must go here. So now we have 2 points left. This begins to open up a whole nother video that we will go more in depth on as to why natural shapeshifter is so clutch. So we put our 2 points into natural shapeshifter, reducing all the shapeshifting costs by 20%. You could find a way to potentially, like I said, if you don't go leader of the pack, you could put this last point into natural shapeshifter, get it to 30% off. But shapeshifting costs a ton of mana, and regardless if you're full tank, full DPS, or hybrid, you're going to be shape-shifting a lot. And this is super clutch for power shifting, which we will get into a future video. But 20% off saves you so much mana in these long raid fights in this, open world PvP sense, and even just power farming out and about by yourself. So being able to reduce that cost lets you spam it more, which lets you spam fur more, which basically gives you free resources of energy and whatnot. So there it is, my level 60 hybrid cat hybrid tank build. Some controversial points, but overall I think it's pretty. I think this is probably the best build that I could do for my playstyle. And other than that, like I mentioned, we're gonna go into power shifting pretty soon, hopefully within the same week, I think. And then I'm gonna be doing macros as well as key bindings videos. So we're gonna have tons of videos coming out for you guys shortly this week. So glad to be finally back on the YouTube grind, actually making content. And as always, guys, let me know what you want to see in the comments down below. If you like the video, go ahead and throw it a like. And I'll have all my other social media, such as Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook in the info box down below. And as always, I'll see you all next time. Peace.